thinking about making a move to Minneapolis, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Today, I am going to show you one of the most sought after communities all around the Twin Cities metro, and that's going to be Minnetonka. Just minutes from downtown Minneapolis, Minnetonka brings sparkling Lake Minnetonka, hundreds of miles of trails, thousands of acres of green space, 54 beautiful parks, and some of the best schools in the nation. So today in this Google Map tour, I'm going to jump into the maps with you, show you around the community, and show you why so many people are making the move to Minnetonka.
So we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to touch on the schools. We're going to talk a little bit about the economy. I want to show you a couple different neighborhoods, points of interest. But just to start, we are looking at, in my opinion, what Minnetonka absolutely just nails like nobody else. And that is the blending of their green space, their parks and nature, blending that seamlessly with an urban environment. So I want you to remember 394, which is a highway system we're going to cover real quick here in the video, and the Ridgedale Mall, because they are both literally 2 to 3 blocks away from me, but you'd never know it. And this, you are going to see this theme throughout Minnetonka, whether it's a formal park or just green space tucked into a neighborhood. And that's what this is. This is not a formal park, but the trail systems, the green space, I've just never seen a community mix it like Minnetonka does, whether it's walking trails, biking trails. So if that's your jam, this community is going to be for you. And hey, if this is your first time stopping by the channel, thank you. My name is Chris, my business partner Trevor, the team. We like to get out into Minnetonka and the other communities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities. We like to get out, show you guys around, talk about some real estate, points of interest, and other cool things. So if this is your first time, thank you. Be sure to bang that bell, subscribe so you can stay up to date on what is going on in Minnetonka, the market, and all the other suburbs around the Twin Cities. So with that said, let's get into Minnetonka. All right, guys. So we will get into our Google Maps deep dive of Minnetonka. Just want to set things up a little bit for you, like I like to do, just so you have some frame of reference of so where it is and just a few of the basics. So as I always like to start out, here's lovely Minneapolis, St. Paul, affectionately known if you're local as the Twin Cities. We have the mighty Mississippi River cutting down. So now I can make my joke of a river runs through it. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should really see it. Minneapolis and St. Paul with a river running through it. And just off to the west of Minneapolis is going to be our subject for today. And that is going to be Minnetonka, Minnesota. So we will get into this here a little bit, center things up, zoom in. So I just want to start by just kind of laying this out for you. Minnetonka is going to be a second ring suburb of Minneapolis and then St. Louis Park. Population is going to be about 53,000. Minnetonka is, I would say, one of the metro's most desirable suburbs. We have on the northern border of Minnetonka, we have 12, which turns into Highway 394, and this will run you right into proper downtown Minneapolis. In the absolute worst traffic, starting about anywhere in here, you're probably 25 minutes, and most of the time, I would say it's more like 20 to 15 minutes. So 394 will take you right into the heart of downtown. On the southern border, we have Highway 62. If you're a local, we call this the crosstown. And this runs basically east and west, and this is going to run all the way. This will take you all the way to the airport. So the airport is here. From Minnetonka, 20 to 25 minutes, depending on where you're coming from. But 62 will take you east and west. This will take you all the way over to St. Paul if you want to go that far. Highway 7, coming right through the middle here of Minnetonka. Again, this will run you east and west through St. Louis Park, over through the lakes and up into downtown if that's where you're going. Last but not least, Highway 494, we've talked about this one in some of the other videos, coming right down through the middle. 494 is called the Beltway, and this is going to make a big loop around all of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So you can see Minnetonka is very accessible just based on the roadways cutting through it. So that's just kind of one cool thing to note. The other thing about Minnetonka, and I'm not going to lie, I was thinking about when I was making this video, if you just start to look at, obviously we're looking at the satellite view here on the map, but what you are not going to see anywhere in Minnetonka, and I'm looking around here so you can see, you are not going to find a centralized downtown. So good or bad, that is just something to keep in mind with Minnetonka. There is no downtown, central downtown area. And last but not least here, just to set this up, one other thing I think I'm remiss if I don't call out. So if you are anywhere near the metro, this is in the land of 10,000 lakes, this is the lake. If you are anywhere near Minnetonka, or I would say even the West Metro, and this is the lovely, look at that handwriting, it's amazing. Lake Minnetonka is right here. That would impress any teacher. So Lake Minnetonka is definitely the place to be, the who's who. You are not going to get on this lake on the actual lake itself. You're not going to get on this lake for anything less than $1 million, and you can pay, frankly, tens of millions. There are some palatial palaces out on that lake. It actually can be a pretty fun thing. So I just want to make this known. You can see, again, don't confuse Lake Minnetonka with Minnetonka, but we can see, you know, this western border of Minnetonka in parts creeping up right onto the lake. So I can tell you, well, it's not in Minnetonka proper. If you live in Minnetonka, you are probably likely to spend a fair amount of time out here in Wayzata. Great spot for dining, shopping, restaurants. We'll have another video on that. You're probably going to spend some time in Excelsior, another super cool spot. And you can see both of these. And to be honest, it's one of the draws of Minnetonka. You are set up with great lake access. You're just minutes away. Both Wayzata and Excelsior are very cool spots to be as it relates to being on Lake Minnetonka. So the next thing we will touch on is actually going to be the schools. So Minnetonka is extremely highly rated. The school district itself of Minnetonka is extremely highly rated year in and year out. It's usually the top district or number 2 according to rating sites like niche.com and things like that. But just something to keep in mind, if you live in Minnetonka, you actually have options to go to 3 high schools. So as you can see, Hopkins High School, which is for the town of Hopkins is down here, but the high school itself is actually located in Minnetonka. So that's one option for you. And then of course, down here, you actually have Minnetonka High School. And then there's one other option, and that is going to be the high school out in Wayzata. And Wayzata is going to be this area over here. We're not going to show you that one. We'll save that for a different video. But just understand, if you live in Minnetonka, you're going to have the option to put your kids in one of 3 different high schools. And the school district of Wayzata and Minnetonka, those two, according to almost every website you are going to look at, are jockeying for the 1st and 2nd place district in the state on basically an annual basis. So schools are definitely going to be a strong suit for Minnetonka. So the next thing we are going to get into here as it relates to Minnetonka is we're just going to take a look at kind of some of the shopping, dining, some of those things that you can find in this community. And just to be very clear, I touched on this already. If nightlife and especially like dining are your big things, I'm not going to tell you Minnetonka is dynamite for that. Minnetonka makes up for the lack of nightlife in other ways. Anyways, so as I mentioned when we started this video, commercial districts, and what I mean by commercial districts are shopping, restaurants, non-residential, are chopped up throughout Minnetonka. So we'll just take a look at some of the more notable ones. So on the northern edge, again, Highway 12, which turns into 394. Friendly reminder, this will run you right into downtown Minneapolis. You've got one of the main commercial areas up here. I call this car dealership row. I mean, from here to here is basically all car dealerships. You get, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. You get a whole bunch more car dealerships over here. You do get a Total Wine if you like yourself some wine. And as we move along here, I think we'll see a few things that are a bit more recognizable to some of you folks. So one of my favorites in Minnetonka, you've got a Whole Foods. That's going to be right on this intersection here of 394 and Plymouth Road. So you definitely have a Whole Foods. A lot of new apartments that have built, senior living kind of stuff like that has gone up recently right along here. But again, just always the theme with Minnetonka, just as you're looking at this map, notice the green space, the lakes, all the stuff built in. Get out to the end here. Let's get our borders back up. So as we get back out to this northwestern edge of Minnetonka, Trader Joe's, I know that's a staple for a lot of people. This whole Westridge Market Boulevard, cool little local restaurant, American fare. I like it, a trendy, hip little spot, great for happy hour, casual dinner, Olive Garden if you're into that. But that kind of makes up that section. And then on the other side here of 394, again, you got one more kind of, I would call, commercial block. So we'll just kind of take a look at the notable things. Petco, you got a Best Buy, Target, of course. You're going to see Lunds and Byerly's throughout the entire Twin Cities metro. This is a local grocery store chain. It's a higher end grocery store. It's going to be a bit more expensive. I would say it's not quite as expensive as things like Whole Foods, but it's going to be pretty comparable to that. Very nice store. I'm a big fan of you get what you pay for, especially when it comes to things like your food. So you've got a grocery store right on this northern edge of Minnetonka. That's going to be about it, except for you have the Ridgedale Mall. So this was opened, I believe, in 1970. It is what it sounds like, folks. It's a big old mall. You've got a Macy's, JCPenney, Dick's Sporting Goods, Nordstrom's, Lululemon, lots of restaurants. Pretty nice mall. If you like malls, I'm not a big shopping guy myself, but if you like malls, you're going to have a very nice one on the northern edge of Minnetonka. And then you can see you got a library down here. You've got a few little strip malls that will have your few restaurants, typical strip mall type stuff, but that's about it for this pocket. So I did want to hop out of the map just for a minute and show you Ridgedale Mall, which opened in about the 1970s. That's where we are standing at the moment, and I am standing in what is called the Ridgedale Commons. It's a courtyard. You can see the more mall proper here behind me, but they put this courtyard in just in the last couple of years, and now summer evenings, this is a popular place where you're going to get live music, farmers market. Frankly, it's just really nice, and that's the theme with a lot of things in Minnetonka. Yes, you are going to have a little bit higher taxes. Cost of living is going to be a little bit more, but the trade-off is you get a community with really nice amenities, and it seems like every time I drive somewhere, they are upgrading the sidewalks, putting in a nice stone retaining wall, doing things like this right here. So again, this is Ridgedale. It is going to be probably the best place to go shopping in Minnetonka. Just wanted to give you guys a look at it. So we'll jump out here and get into another one. This area over here, you've got another pocket of some restaurants, shopping, things like that nature. I will show you this one, Snuffy's Malt Shop. This has been around, I want to say, for something like 50 years. This is a bit of an institution. Great place. My kids, like, instead of McDonald's, if you want something, I'm not going to say a bit more upscale, but think old school cheeseburgers, malt, and French fries. That is what this place is. You can take your kids there for dinner for $15. It's still relatively cheap. Mine love it. They have great malts. If you are in the area and like yourself a malt, check Snuffy's out. So that's going to be one of the other areas. Again, just as we're moving through the map, look at the green space and neighborhoods. You got neighborhoods tucked right into it. That's why part of why I think Minnetonka is so awesome. You got another little spot down here. So you've got yet another Target. And if we zoom in a bit on all this, Target's probably the big thing over here. You've also got a Cub grocery store, a couple more strip malls. There's a Subway, Chipotle, place to get your haircut, things like that. The US Bank down here. But you can begin to see what I mean, right? There is no major centralized downtown area. One area that I really like, it's really cool. It's small, but I just personally really like this area. This is called the Glen Lake area, Glen Lake neighborhood. Right here is Glen Lake itself. This has more of a small town feel to it. And again, it's a small area, so it's not a huge draw. You got yet your third Byerly's in Minnetonka. So here's Unmapped Brewing over here. There's a lot of breweries and things like that in Minnetonka. So if that's your jam, we're going to have a lot of those for you. But this is a really cool place just all through this area. I hate to call it a con because I do love Minnetonka, but dining, nightlife, things like that is definitely a bit of a struggle for Minnetonka itself. The good news is, however, you can find some really cool places around Lake Minnetonka over to your west and downtown Minneapolis, which if you're in the metro, downtown Minneapolis is really where the significant nightlife is. And that's only going to be a 10 to 15 minute drive anyways. So something a bit more fun, exciting, a bit more near and dear to my heart is going to be the parks. And I think this is one of the things Minnetonka does best. I believe they have something like 5 community parks and 44 different neighborhood parks. But just as you look at this map, park, park. I mean, they're everywhere, and you can just see the green space. One of my favorite is this Grays Bay's Dam, which is right on the edge of Lake Minnetonka. All right, guys, so this is Grays Bay's Dam Park in Minnetonka on the easternmost edge of Lake Minnetonka. Just another one of these places I wanted to hop out of the map to show you guys. This is one of my favorite spots. I have 2 little boys myself. This is a spot we will come to go fishing or just putz around. But you can see this fantastic boardwalk they've got built for walking. It goes back to the theme of the parks and recreation. And you can get to hopefully get a sense to begin to see these homes behind me and just how spectacular they are. We'll cover some of those in some of our other videos. But again, if you get up in the northern part of the state, you've got Lake Vermilion, Lake of the Woods, command a lot of attention. But once you get down anywhere near the Twin Cities metro, it is all about Lake Minnetonka. This is the lake to be on. It is the lake to recreate on. And Grays Bay Dam is just a really cool point. On the end, it just gives you a really good feel for the lake. Great spot to do some hiking, fishing, take the kids, puddle around. Just wanted to show it. Going to show you another couple cool ones here. Shady Oak Beach, right on Shady Oak Lake. This is a very popular spot in the summer. Down in here, they're going to have lifeguards, beach, so you can take the kids here. There's a lot of activities. You can rent things like kayaks, whatnot. That's a very popular place to be. And again, just even not formal parks. So Lone Lake Park, another really cool park. Again, I got 2 little guys. They love this park. So it's going to be a big lake. You can see the trails that are weaving through the woods here. Got pickleball courts, which is of course becoming all the rage. Playground. There are tennis courts here, soccer fields. I would say Minnetonka does this, the whole parks and recreation thing, really well. So if that's your jam, you will love Minnetonka. There's another one up here, Big Willow Park. There it is. Another very popular place. We're going to have a lot of baseball fields, soccer fields. It's also where the public works for the city is. If you live in Minnetonka and you got to come dump your brush every once in a while, this is right where you come. So Big Willow is another very popular park. For you dog lovers, I would show you where I would recommend for dog lovers, and that is going to be Purgatory Park. Just another one of these places I just wanted to hop out of the maps for a minute to show you guys. This is Purgatory Park, which as you can see on the maps is pretty much smack dab in the middle of Minnetonka. It is definitely one of the bigger parks in Minnetonka as well, and it's just a super cool spot. There's a paved trail that runs around the perimeter. It's great for biking, walking. You can roller skate, do whatever you want. But there's also a handful of kind of trails, that's where we are, that kind of actually cut through the park itself. And then even once the park ends, the trails just continue off into the community. So it's a super cool spot. Again, one of these places where you're dead center of a second ring suburb of 50,000 plus people, but you could be out in the middle of nowhere. And so just on a little bit more personal note for you dog people, it's a fantastic off-leash dog park. This whole area where we are standing down behind me is all places for your puppy to run. So I have to tell you guys, so we had a boxer named Belle, and we got Belle in 2013, I believe. If you ever know anything about boxers, they are goofy, but the most lovable dogs on the planet. And this was one of my favorite spots to come and take Belle for sure. And so I also want to come out to this spot today because I had to put Belle down 3 days ago this week. And ain't no one want to see a 45-year-old man break down and cry on a YouTube video, so that's all we're going to say about that. If any of you guys have ever had to do that, that is not the fun part of pet ownership, but it's part of the deal. So if you have your dog, your furry companion, like you guys, you will love this spot. Get out and check it out. One more pretty big one, cool thing to show you here, and then we'll get on to our next topic. And that is going to be the Minnetonka LRT. So this is going to be the Lake Minnetonka Regional Trail. And this trail, this is a major bike trail. Biking is another big thing. But I just want to kind of give you an idea how far this goes. So you can get on that Lake Minnetonka Regional Trail, which starts somewhere in here, snakes its way out west, and goes all the way out to Carver. So people will take that weekend bike ride. You can get lunch. There's things to do along the way. And there are trails that go the other way too. You're going to be able to get downtown on your bike very easily from Minnetonka. So it's set up to be accessible very much either car or bike. So one of the last things I really want to get into and show you guys is just some of the neighborhoods and real estate in Minnetonka. And it's pretty hard to generalize about Minnetonka because it's just
It's pretty diverse. You will find a $2 million house next to a $400,000 house. To start, it's a very established community. So what you are not going to find in Minnetonka is a whole lot of big new developments, new builds. There just isn't room for it. I happen to notice you're not going to find big national builders coming in and building big new plots because there just is not the room or the land to do it. So you are going to find a variety of lot sizes and a variety of architectural styles all throughout Minnetonka. I'm going to see if I can give you a few examples here. Over here, you have these two. Both these homes were built in the last 5-6 years. Both sold for well over $1 million. Big lots, new homes, everything you'd expect. Right across the street and down the street, you have much more. And of course, there's nothing wrong with these, just these new $1 million homes right next to these much more, I would call just model home or much more modest homes, but more on the kind of the starter end of things. But this is Minnetonka.
So we are going to wrap up this video today on the edge of Lake Minnetonka. I would be remiss about doing any kind of video about Minnetonka that did not get into the lake at least a little bit. So, as we've touched on in this video, the majority of Lake Minnetonka is not in Minnetonka itself. The eastern edge does butt up to Minnetonka, and that's where I am. So I am at Gray's Bay Boat Launch, which if you live in Minnetonka, this is very well might be the place where you decide to put your boat in. And I can tell you, major holidays, Memorial Day, Labor Day, the 4th of July, this place gets busy. Get here early and get that boat in. Otherwise, you can expect to be waiting for hours on those holidays. But all along behind me, you can see that shoreline. People will come here just to fish off the shoreline, put in their boats, and get out on this lake and recreate. Even though Minnetonka, Lake Minnetonka is so close to the Twin Cities, believe it or not, it is still one of the best fishing lakes in the state. You will find walleye, muskie, a whole bunch of other sport fish in here. It's almost 15,000 acres. I think its deepest point is somewhere around 115 feet. So it might be a metro lake, but it is a good one. So thanks again for joining us today. My name is Chris. If you haven't yet, subscribe below, tap the bell. We like to get out into these communities, show you guys around. If you have questions, if you'd like to see something, we always love to hear from you guys. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next one.